She's a woman with a mind of her own. And as much as she's melted the heart of this hardened old hack, I fear for her.
Hey guys, I hope you're all doing well and that you've had a great week. I'm not in my usual location this week, hence my non-appearance in front of the camera, so please forgive me. Nevertheless, to all of my house guests, come in, make yourselves at home, make yourselves comfortable. If you're visiting my channel for the first time and you'd like to become a house guest, don't forget to hit subscribe and activate all of your notifications. I'm Shez, this is Shenhua, welcome to my place. House rules. Please do not watch this video if you have absolutely no interest in the subject matter as indicated by the thumbnail, you struggle to simply accept other people's opinions when they don't necessarily align with yours, you're a professional point misser, you are not able to engage respectfully. Remember that there are countless other channels that cater specifically to your needs and preferences. Therefore, please feel free to exit this video and engage with their content instead. All through my adult life, I've become much less concerned about pleasing other people because I value my peace and the preservation of my mental health much more. If I feel that someone's behaved towards me in a way which is totally unacceptable to me, I am known for calling it out. I will confront that person, not in a combative way, but I need to understand what's happened. If we can remain cordial afterwards, not a problem, we move on. If you don't wish to have anything to do with me because I've called you out, not a problem, we move on. The interview Harry and Meghan did with Oprah Winfrey was shown in March 2021.
Let's talk about, the jaw-dropping moment, the first one, about the color of the baby's skin. Yeah. And you asked Harry about it when he came out. He did not tell you who it was. Did you all have another conversation about it? Because that was something that, there's a big guessing game all around the world. Who was it? Who was it? Who wasn't? Yeah. I thought it was very touching that Harry still is choosing to protect the identity of whoever that was.
Yes, and he did not share the identity with me, but he wanted to make sure that I knew, and if I had an opportunity to share it, that it was not his grandmother nor his grandfather. Did you leave the country because of racism?
It was a large part of it. One of the people at that dinner said to me, please don't do this with the media. They will destroy your life. But unfortunately, if the source of information is inherently corrupt or racist or biased, then that filters out to the rest of society.
If they can compare what the experience that I went through was similar to what has been shared with us. Kate was called Waity Katie, waiting to marry William. While I imagine that was really hard, and I can't picture what that felt like, this is not the same. And if a member of his family will comfortably say, we've all had to deal with things that are rude and racist are not the same.
After my grandmother had said, the moment you land, come up to...
We asked if we could go up to see her.
Come up to Sandringham, we'd love to have a chat, come for tea, and why don't you stay for dinner, because it's going to be a long drive and you're going to be exhausted.
She even said stay the night.
Wonderful, I love that.
Yeah.
The moment we landed in the UK, I got a message from my private secretary, Fiona at the time.
Private secretary is sort of like a CEO role in the institution.
Cutting and pasting a message from the Queen's private secretary, basically saying, please pass on to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex that he cannot come to Norfolk. The Queen is busy, she's busy all week.
After she just invited you?
Yeah.
Just invited me. The Queen's busy. She's busy all week. Do not come up here. No, when you're head of the firm, there is people around you that give you advice.
Okay.
And what has also made me really sad is some of that advice has been really bad.
If in your own office or in your own family, somebody is saying things about you that are not true and how hurtful that is, or if you're online and you read the comments from something that somebody has said about you and you continue to see those comments, how hurtful that is. So imagine that for over a period of months and years, and you know that it isn't true.
That was 2 years and 9 months ago. Since that interview, Harry and Meghan have told their story in a Netflix documentary and in a memoir. Since that interview, they have become parents of 2 healthy and well-loved children. They live in a comfortable and secure environment and live purpose-driven lives by investing their time, efforts and resources, helping to make life better for others. They've moved on. Last Tuesday saw the release of Omid Scobie's book, Endgame, which many have predictably torn to shreds. The Guardian published 6 claims made by Scobie in this book. This article is dated the 28th of November. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I will look at 3 of them. So apparently the 3rd claim is under the subheading Thankful Queen. Camilla is alleged to have quietly thanked the TV presenter Piers Morgan for defending the firm after he called Meghan Princess Pinocchio. Camilla is also described by a former aide as rolling her eyes at lefty nonsense such as gender identity, unconscious bias and veganism. The 5th claim is subheaded Letters from Meghan. Harry was reportedly gutted when, after allegations of bullying staff were made against Meghan, the royal family stood by to watch the dirty game play out. Harry reportedly confronted his father and brother after Prince Philip's funeral. Scobie writes that Charles replied, "You must understand, darling boy, the institution can't just tell the media what to do." Charles and Meghan exchanged letters in the wake of her interview with Oprah Winfrey, it is alleged. The alleged letters are said to reveal the identity of 2 people the Duchess claimed in the TV interview had aired concerns about the colour of then unborn Prince Archie's skin. And then the 6th claim in this article is subheaded Queen in Training. Kate is described as jokingly shivering when Meghan's name is mentioned. She is accused of being cold if she doesn't like someone and ignoring Meghan's cries for help. Scobie writes that Kate spent more time talking about Meghan than talking to her. The future Queen is described as an inscrutable Queen in training, an institutional dream come true. The next day, on Wednesday, Omid gave an interview to This Morning.
We're joined now by the book's author, Omid Scobie. Good morning,
Morning.
Omid. Thank you
Morning,
for
Omid.
coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Look, we're 2 days into the book being out now, 2 or 3 days. The reaction has been, well, kind of fierce, hasn't it? The public are unhappy.
Yeah.
The press have been hard. And some of the reviews haven't been great. I'm just wondering how your week's been so far.
So thank you for asking. I knew this book would be controversial. It obviously goes into areas that I think that often royal correspondents shy away from, whether it's conversations around race or, of course, the relationship between the press and the palace, but really going into the details of that. And I never expected it to sort of be presented fairly on the pages of the same papers that their secrets are now being revealed for the first time. And of course, none of that has made any of the coverage. I think what's been frustrating is seeing so much written about the book that just wasn't true. There were stories about things that I'd supposedly said about the Princess of Wales, Kate, for example, that she only smiles or grins in front of the camera or something. There's not a word in the book that reflects that whatsoever, and neither have I ever said it in an interview, but you sort of have to sit back and watch these things play out. And then
You did refer to her as a Stepford wife, though, which is kind of offensive too, isn't it?
it said Stepford wife-like, and I think that the whole section of the book, if you read it in detail, talks about that she's never put a step wrong, but also that the role does require that kind of stately detachment, and it compares her to the Queen in a very favourable way, actually. But of course, if you compare that to, say, everyday folk, there is a sort of like very reserved, almost Stepford-like approach to the position.
It is a kind of a hard thing to say or to hear about yourself, and you can understand why there's been a lot of negative reaction. Before we get into the meat and veg of the book, though, if you don't mind, a lot of it feels like a bit of a hatchet job against the royal family, okay? And, you know, Harry and Meghan, they kind of are largely untouched from negativity from your pen in this. So, you know, a lot of the speculation is that you are a mouthpiece for Harry and Meghan. So what is your relationship with Harry and Meghan?
I'm not their friend. I've never sat down with Meghan privately for interviews. I've never exchanged information with Meghan. I'm not in their private world in any way whatsoever.
Are you fighting their corner?
No.
It feels
I
like
have
you are.
been, during Meghan's time as a working member of the royal family, I was extremely sympathetic for the position she was in. I was one of a number of journalists that are part of that small pack that covered the story as a full-time job. For me, there were things that I saw being written about in the press, the comments that were being made about her, unfair treatment when it came to how she was being written about compared to, say, how we've written about others in the past. And so I called it out. You know, I work in the American press. I'm not restricted by some of the limitations of being a member of the British press and that relationship with the royal family. So I did go on television and talk about the racism that she faced. And rather than anyone wanting to talk about it or listen about it, I was called her fan, mouthpiece, cheerleader, etc. So I can't run away from that narrative. It's stuck. You know as well as I do that tabloid nicknames stick forever. But Harry and Meghan...
See, this is where I have a bit of a... I don't mean to cut across
Yeah,
it.
go for it.
I find a lot of this content quite tabloidy too.
Yeah.
So, you know, you got to bear the brunt of that as well.
It delves into...
As part of the American press crew, you don't have a role within the reporting pack over here with the royal family. We know Meghan was in touch with the first book and sent some advice your way.
Well, she wasn't in touch with the first book.
Via an aide.
She spoke to her communications officer, and I discovered that at the same time as the rest of the world.
So it happened.
But
So it happened.
It's the job of a communications officer at the palace to deal with the press.
But if you're not dealing with them, it would be very surprising that any of her staff or aides would talk to you. So people are questioning your sources.
Can I ask you a question? Have you ever had this conversation with people that write source quotes about Camilla, Charles, William,
100%.
Kate? Do they ever get called friends of, mouthpieces of, cheerleaders? Yes. Or is it simply because people don't like the narratives that I purport in my reporting, because it makes people feel uncomfortable? And rather than us engage in healthy conversation and discourse about it, it's easier to sling a nickname at me or accuse me of something that is, quite frankly, not true, but also unfair. I'm open to criticism and healthy conversation, but I also don't appreciate and have never appreciated the nonsense that is written about me and my work.
Omid, do you kind of feel that some people are trying to maybe discredit you, discredit the Sussexes, to kind of avoid discussing whether or not the royal family's racist? Would you say that's happening?
Firstly, I've never used the racist word when in this subject. Even the book makes it very clear that we're talking about unconscious bias here. And I realise that the alliteration of racist royal is a great headline, but that's not the subject at stake here. We're talking about a conversation that was raised about the colour of Archie's skin that they called concerns. And for me, it was important to get to the bottom of that. Why was it not covered ever again? Why did the Sussexes never talk about it? What happened behind the scenes? The palace said it was being dealt with privately. Was it? And listen, this isn't just a family that we're writing about like celebrities. This is a family that is part of a publicly funded institution that is representative of Britain for our entire diverse country. And so to ask questions about was the issue of race or potential unconscious bias dealt with properly is important for us to learn about, because it says a lot about their attitudes towards a subject on a much wider level.
I do agree. It's a conversation that we should be having. I mean, it really is. I guess it's the manner, the way things have played out since the book has come out. Primarily a name being named in the Dutch version of your book.
Well, two names.
That just seems bizarre to everybody out there because you don't accidentally put in a name and you can't put it down to mistranslation, can you? It does feel like a stunt to sell books, which I understand.
I wish it was the case.
Okay, how did it happen?
It's still being investigated right now.
What do you think happened?
I wrote and edited the English version of the book with one publisher. That then gets licensed to other publishers. I obviously can't speak Italian, German, French, Dutch, or any of the other languages that come out. So the only time you hear about the book is once it's come out in the public domain. I'm as frustrated as everyone else. I make it very clear in this book that I, in every way possible, want to adhere to the laws surrounding this subject. It's why I've been very careful in how it's described in the book. And it's why I've never spoken about it beyond what I've said in the public domain before. The reality is, though, is that this is information that is not privy just to me. Journalists across Fleet Street have known those names for a long time. We've all followed a certain code of conduct when it comes to talking about it. It's frustrating that now what's going on in the Netherlands with the book that was obviously immediately rescinded and is now being reprinted has happened, and I'm glad to hear so. But for me, I can only talk about the English version of the book that I wrote and produced.
But are you upset by it, though? Are you upset by it that those names came out when you didn't want that to happen?
I had never submitted a book that had their names in it, so I can only talk about my version.
Yeah.
I'm obviously frustrated. I wouldn't say I'm upset about it, because, to be honest, I've been operating in a bubble of no emotion for the last 10 days. But I am frustrated about it, just like I am many of the other things that I've seen written or said about the book.
You're a journalist.
I am a journalist.
And you know the effect a book like this has, so surely you can't be surprised by the reaction.
I knew that it would be heated and controversial, absolutely. But I think that, I don't know how closely you follow it, but a lot of this has been simply about me. It's been unnecessary information about me. It's been unfair attacks about me. It's been an assassination of my character. My father's been harassed.
Had death threats as well.
And I don't want to make light of those, but death threats are almost like the least of my worry. Yeah. I had tabloid journalists harassing my father last week and the week before, trying to purport all sorts of nonsense. I've had things done that have happened behind the scenes that no one would ever know about. The reality is that this book covers a lot of things that the British press don't want to talk about because they are part of it. And it's why it's so important listen, I'm not asking people to buy this book, rent it from the library, but I want people to see it for themselves, because this is a very different manuscript to the book being described in the pages of the press. I don't know if have you guys read it?
I haven't read it.
I've been through an awful lot of it. Okay,
through the book or through the pages of the press?
Through the pages of the book. Some of the reviews, and actually, it's interesting. I've read all the papers. Okay, left, right, down the middle, the whole lot. New York Times. And there is a general feel that a lot of the information was out there already, and you've put your spin on it. And I guess one of the questions people are asking, why? What's your end game?
No, for me, I feel that we've reached a pinnacle moment with the royal family where we are having conversations about the purpose, relevancy, and future of the royal family. When we celebrated the life of the Queen, we also celebrated the fact that she upheld a certain set of morals, values, ethics, and principles in that role. She was always above the fray. So for me to ask the question, do the current working royals all still uphold those same morals, values, and ethics, not just in front of the cameras, but behind palace walls, I think is a legitimate question to ask. I want to live in a world and report in a world where we can scrutinise the royal family in the same way we do politicians. These are not celebrities just there to be written about in a fun way. Of course, there is a light and fluffy side of that story. This is also an establishment at the heart of our country. And so to have more serious conversations about them, which I do in the book, I feel is absolutely important.
Do you believe in the monarchy?
I do, actually.
Do you want the monarchy to exist?
If you had read the book, you'll see that there are
I look forward to it.
Many aspects of the monarchy I appreciate and have been proud of, but there are also many moments I feel that don't represent the Britain that we should be in today.
When you say things like splintered and fighting for survival, an unstable family business, a created firm, I'm just wondering, are you saying that from an empathetic viewpoint, from a viewpoint that you wanted to survive, you wanted to be fixed? Is that the conversation you wanted to have? Because that's a very interesting conversation, and a valid one, to be fair.
I'm saying we've reached a moment where we're at a sort of split in the road, where if you look at European monarchies, past and present, some have gone on to great glory. Most have gone on to fade into insignificance or become tourist attractions because they've lost touch with the nation. I don't want to see that happen with our royal family, but I also think that if we keep pretending that we're only just covering the fun stuff, or we go by what's purported in a lot of the papers, I don't think we're ever really getting to the nitty-gritty parts of the conversation. I've tried to handle them in a very respectful, mature way in the book. And I do obviously lean on a lot of stuff that has existed in the tabloid press over here to have those conversations.
Omid, why do you think Harry and Meghan have had unfair press?
It's not about Harry and Meghan having unfair press. I think for me, the interest, and listen, firstly, I want to say Harry and Meghan don't appear in this book until page 146. I say very early on, they are irrelevant to the future of the royal family. I'm only here to talk about the past experiences and stories and how they relate to the issues that we're talking about with the royal family today. So I have very little interest in what they're doing in California, etc. But I do think when Meghan was a working member of the royal family, she was massively misrepresented in a lot of the coverage. I think a lot of it was steeped in xenophobia, misogyny and prejudice. And I've always said that very loudly from the start. And it's the thing that has made me a target for many people in terms of someone who is just seen as like some mouthy fan of her, rather than perhaps, okay, I'm a mixed race member of the press pack and I've got something different to say about it.
Do you know, that's such an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to have seen a book that spoke about that and looked to the future of the
20,000 words on race and the royals.
Yeah.
It's the deepest dive on the subject I think any royal correspondent has ever done. And not one article that is out there today has written a word about that section.
Would you have written it differently now if you did it today?
No, because I wrote it without fear or favour to anyone.
Piers Morgan was saying that he had no conversations with Camilla. He's called you an outright liar. What would you say to him?
I don't know what he says. I only go by the reporting that I have. I also, as I was researching this, and as you see cited in the references at the back, he's spoken a lot about his friendship with Camilla, the Queen. So, listen, I don't know what to make of that, but I only go by the information that I have. He's also said a lot of things about me and the story and so on that is also not true. So I don't find that particularly credible.
He's also said stuff about Meghan in the past as well. So, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
he also wrote an op-ed this week saying that they should be burned alive or something like that. So
none of that, but none of that's acceptable. That's the thing. None of it's acceptable. Omid, just a quick word to the public. It's their monarchy.
Yeah.
It's their king. What would you say to them in their anger this morning with your book out there? What would you say?
I would say that this book is written to sit at the heart of the conversation about the purpose, relevancy and future of the royal family, and whether some of the subjects in the book make people uncomfortable or not. They are still conversations we should be had. You can leave that book feeling stronger about the monarchy than ever before, or you can leave that book feeling like, actually, there are some more things that I'd like public discourse about.
Well, I do hope it starts discussions that have to be had.
I think it needs to. Yeah. Endgame, Inside the Royal Family and the Monarchy's Fight for Survival by Omid Scobie. Thank you for joining us.
And also, Omid, look, I hope there's no more attacks on you. You know, it's a book. That's all you've done. I hope that all that stuff stops, because that's not right for anyone, okay?
Thank you for saying
that. Take care of yourself, all right? Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.
So, just in case you missed it, Piers Morgan and Omid Scobie have absolutely no time for each other. It would appear that Piers was so incensed with the secrecy surrounding the names of the royals who were allegedly concerned with Archie's skin colour that he revealed them on his show. And I think it's safe to say that Piers Morgan is not a happy bunny.
Well, I'm going to cut through all this crap. I'm going to tell you the names of the two senior royals who are named in that Dutch version of the book. Because frankly, if Dutch people wandering into a bookshop can pick it up and see these names, then you, British people here, who actually pay for the British royal family, you're entitled to know too. And then we can have a more open debate about this whole farrago, because I don't believe any racist comments were ever made by any of the royal family. And until there is actual evidence of those comments being made, I will never believe it. But now we can start the process of finding out if they ever got uttered, what the context was, and whether there was any racial intent at all. Like I say, I don't believe there was. The royals who are named in this book are King Charles and Catherine, Princess of Wales.
Going back to the Oprah interview, Harry and Meghan said they weren't going to reveal who made these remarks because it would be extremely damaging. But somehow, Meghan has been dragged back into this, and you heard with your own ears it was Piers Morgan who revealed the names. I'm sure Charles and Kate did not want this at all, because now they have to do damage limitation. But Piers was hell-bent because he wanted to know from day one, and he knows now. So he wants a debate about it. Oh yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a big debate about it. As a black person, none of this is a shock to me. It doesn't matter who said it, you know, these alleged remarks about Archie's skin colour. I don't care about that, because sadly I expect that type of behaviour. What's more of a surprise to me is the fact that there was a denial there that ever happened. If you recall, there was a statement released from Buckingham Palace around the time where it was said recollections may vary. Implying that Harry and Meghan had made it up somehow, or they'd misinterpreted situations. Out of the two, it's Kate who intrigues me more, because as a future queen, if she did say that, if she did make such remarks, it's extremely short-sighted of her. When we talk about the Commonwealth, which is really the longed-for British Empire by a different name, it comprises 56 countries, well, 55 since Barbados left. Only 3 of those are in Europe, and that's Cyprus, Malta and the UK. And even if you add Canada, Australia and New Zealand, you don't require a degree in applied mathematics to know that the vast majority of Commonwealth citizens are black and brown. So please could someone explain to me why William and his wife think it's a good idea to try and destroy the one person who, as a woman of colour, could have helped to raise the royal family's profile and make them much more relevant in a world where nobody wants to be excluded. How does it make sense for you, William and Kate, as the future king and queen, to vilify and ostracise your highly influential sister-in-law because you have an issue with her ethnicity? If you are so repulsed by your sister-in-law, how much more contempt do you have for me as a black person, as a Commonwealth citizen? Do you not understand that how you're treating Meghan and Harry is counterintuitive, and that we, Commonwealth citizens, are actually much more savvy than you give us credit for? Barbados saw through your pretense way before the Queen passed, but they waited until the appropriate time before they said. People who have an overinflated sense of entitlement will want to be seen to say and do the right things in public, but behind closed doors, the opposite is more often true. People need to stop idolizing these fallible human beings.
The fairy tale, truly I do. A kind, handsome prince falls madly in love with a beautiful Hollywood starlet, and they live happily ever after. But hang on, this Hollywood starlet is a fiercely intelligent, independent woman who's forged a successful career in the cutthroat world of showbiz. She's a campaigner, a charity worker. She says stuff like Trump is a misogynist. Meghan Markle is no fluffy Sloane whose only aim in life is to marry well. She's no weighty Katie messing around with menial jobs till her prince decides to propose. She's a woman with a mind of her own. And as much as she's melted the heart of this hardened old hack, I fear for her. The parallels with Diana just can't be ignored. Until now, she and Harry have hidden from the world, enjoying their cosy cottage in Kensington Palace. But now, there's no hiding place. The eyes of the world are upon them. Every move, every kiss, every touch, every sideways glance will be recorded, because now the paparazzi have a new darling. And they will hunt her just like they hunted Diana. The lovely Meghan says she knows what's coming. My fear is that she has absolutely no idea.
And I can tell you that the irony is not lost on me when it comes to this article published today, 1st of December, by The Telegraph. Prince Harry and Meghan urged to back King amid racism row. Duke and Duchess told to end deafening silence as supporters come forward to defend royals after fallout from Omid Scobie book. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have been urged to speak out in defence of the King and Princess of Wales as leading public figures rally to support them against accusations of racism. Prince Harry and Meghan have remained silent after His Majesty and the Princess were named as the royals alleged to have made remarks about Prince Archie's skin colour. The identities first emerged this week in the Dutch translation of a new book, Endgame, by Omid Scobie, before being reported by news organisations including, on Friday morning, the BBC.
Hey, question for you.
Well, actually, it's 3 questions. Where were Charles and Kate when Danny Baker posted that tweet with the chimpanzee holding the hands of a man and a woman when Archie was born? Where were Charles and Kate when those neo-Nazi nobodies said in their podcast that Archie was an abomination that should be put down? And where were Charles and Kate when 5 ex-Met police officers admitted sending racist messages within their WhatsApp group? The silence wasn't deafening at that time then. No one came out to defend Harry and Meghan during those episodes. So why on earth should Harry and Meghan say anything? I'm just baffled by the audacity of the media calling Harry and Meghan to defend Charles and Kate. Really? Elderly police officers in Britain can share all the racist WhatsApp messages they want. Neo-Nazi nobodies can air their disapproval on their podcasts as many times as they want. William's wife can express disgust at the very idea of a dark-skinned child as a royal family member as many times as she wants. Morgan, with every fibre of his being, can wish for Harry to be bumped off as many times as he wants. The fact is that none of that will ever change Meghan's ethnicity, neither will it change the skin colour of her mother. None of that will change the fact that Archie and Lily are heirs to the British throne, or that Harry will always be the proud father of mixed heritage children. The Sussexes are not going away. So I think this is where I'm going to end the video, guys. It's actually longer than usual and I know you have plenty to do. So if your thoughts were provoked in any way, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet become a house guest, don't forget to hit subscribe and activate all of your notifications. I want to take this opportunity to thank you guys so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day and you shall catch me in the next one.